The Tennessee Volunteers had probably one of the worst off seasons going into 2021. They fired their head coach, buying players with freaking McDonald's bags, and lost half their team. But they made a bowl game with a first year head coach from UCF and Josh Heupel. He shows some promise. What about 2022? Does it favor the Volunteers? Let's dive into it. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Christian Ballard here, Ballard Sports Media, coming at you with a video today looking at the Tennessee Volunteers, running through SEC teams to start, doing it by conference with my 2022 college football team previews, and looking today at the 2022 Tennessee Volunteers. Really don't have much to say. It is hard to preview Tennessee and not make fun of this program. They are a bad program historically. Have not won a national title since 1998. They haven't won the SEC. Haven't even won the East. I mean, they haven't been anything since whenever. But I'm not here. I'm going to try so hard in this video not to make fun of them. Let's just call it what it is. Honestly, for the offseason that they had, firing Jerby Pruitt and then buying players, they lose half their team to the portal. It's the worst offseason possible. But for Josh Heupel to come in, walk into that mess, I'm surprised they found a head coach, but they did. Honestly, to go 7-6 was pretty incredible. They went 7-5 overall. Let's pull this up. They go 7-5 in a season where they should have lost. They probably should have gone like 4-8, in my opinion. I mean, it was, and they had some losses, but they beat teams. Okay, Bowling Green to start out, not bad. Pittsburgh, Tennessee Tech they beat. South Carolina they beat. Missouri they lose at Florida. They lost to Ole Miss. They lost to Alabama. They come off a bye week and they beat Kentucky. That's probably a game where they probably should have lost at Kroger Field in Lexington. I don't know. They lose to Georgia. We know all about what Georgia did last year. Shout out to the Bulldogs for getting the championship. Nothing but respect. Beat South Alabama, beat Vanderbilt. And then, of course, they lose 48-45 in overtime in the Music City Bowl. They made it a pretty competitive game with Purdue, honestly. A heck of a game. And again, like I say, nothing but love and respect. Tennessee had a great season. They really did. Was it what they could have asked for? Maybe. I mean, overall, I think they started out like I said. They lost half their team. Thank you for Henry To'oTo'o, by the way, at Alabama. Yeah, appreciate it. They had the worst offseason possible. They lost how many players? Like, seriously. They lost what? 12 starters? Not even just players, starters. It was insane. Oh my gosh. They lost so many players. They're still a laughing stock. They're a disgrace of a program historically. But honestly, I can't help but just give them props for the season that they had. I think they did better than they should have. I'm looking right here. Let me pull this up for you. I found it on 247 for the Volunteers page here. Look at the transfers last year, and you see the dates here, like 6/23/21, 6/26. This was before this past season, right? And it's in reverse order, but you had a defensive lineman gone. You had a quarterback on. Defensive lineman transfers out. Look at this. How many? I mean, well, these are guys actually right here transferring to Tennessee, but like 3 players here that transferred 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 different players I just counted going from Tennessee. From Tennessee. A couple came in and transferred to Tennessee. But you lost 8 players? Probably more than that I'm missing. I don't know. They lost quite a bit to the portal. But again, I give them props for what they lost and that they were able to come away with the season that they had. Again, look back at what they did do. Made the Music City Bowl. They lost 48-45 to the Purdue Boilermakers, and they did pretty good, actually, though. They did make it competitive. They beat Vandy. They finished after the bye week 3-1 in their last 4 games. Honestly, and they didn't have a big losing streak. It was, and the losses, like I said, they weren't bad. At Florida, that's not too bad of a loss, especially early on in September. Ole Miss is Ole Miss. Be glad that you kept that close. You only lost by 5. Bama is Bama. Georgia is Georgia, but you beat Kentucky on the road. Again, I give them props, and they did a fantastic job. Right? That being said, let's just go ahead and move on. We know what they did this past year. I expect in ways them to get better. I think they bring quite a bit in. I think the non-con schedule, well, let's just pull it up real quick. 2022 Tennessee Vols. The non-con schedule is kind of 50-50 coin toss, but I think it's doable. Open up. Let's run through this. Ball State at Pitt, play Akron, play Florida at home, get a bye week. Then you got a pretty interesting stretch here at LSU, play the third Saturday game with your father, the Alabama Crimson Tide, UT Martin, Kentucky, at Georgia, Mississippi State, at South Carolina, and at Vanderbilt. In some ways, I think this is kind of favorable. Honestly, I like teams like South Carolina this year. I don't like Florida because of the Dan Mullen stuff. He can't recruit. You got a first-year coach with Billy Napier coming in. Kentucky's kind of a coin flip. Overall, here's what I'll say. Any trap games, I don't know if there's necessarily trap games for them on here. Other than if they really screw things up, they're losing to Akron and Ball State. Gosh. The games that are kind of upset. Is it an upset if week 2 they go to Heinz Field and beat Pittsburgh? Is that necessarily an upset? Maybe it is. Kenny Pickett's gone to the NFL this year. I think he did declare for the draft, so they won't have a quarterback really. Pittsburgh loses a couple defensive guys, I think, too. So they lose some players. Meanwhile, we looked at what they had. Tennessee is bringing in a few guys. UT Martin. Look, the non-conference schedule, put Pittsburgh aside real quick. You should have no problem. And if you lose to a team like UT Martin or Ball State or Akron, I'm just going to laugh. We're all going to laugh. There's no excuse for it. Let me just cut to the chase because I know what I really want to say. And we'll go into depth, right? You're not beating Georgia. You could beat Pittsburgh. You could win in Death Valley. You're 9 times out of 10, you're probably not, it's not your year to win the third Saturday rivalry. I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction. They will not win the third Saturday rivalry until Nick Saban is gone. I don't care if in his final years, Nick Saban is failing a little bit and having hypothetically 9-3, 8-4 seasons, before he retires because he's failing. They're still, they're still beating Tennessee. That's facts. Now, hear me out. We're not having 9-3 seasons under Saban ever. I doubt that. We had a 10-2 one in 2019, and that's as far as we'll go, I think. Tennessee recruiting right now, they're okay. I don't know what they're going to do. I think, don't they bring back Hendon Hooker, if I'm not mistaken? Currently, by the way, and we're already looking at 2023, Tennessee is currently number 20 with 3 commits for next year's class. That's a good start. That's not what's important right now, though. Where did they finish up at? They finished in the top 20. No 5 stars, 14 3-stars, and 7 4-stars with 21 players in total. They brought in some interesting players. They did bring in Taven Jackson, who's a 4-star quarterback. Addison Nichols is a interior lineman from the Atlanta area in Norcross, Georgia. Tyree West is a defensive lineman. Caleb Webb, Cameron Miller, to name a couple receivers. They brought in like 4 or 5 different receivers in this year's class. They recruited pretty well. They brought in Gerald Mincey, who's an offensive tackle from Florida. Navy Schuler is a quarterback from App State. They brought in some transfers. Charlie Browder. I think I've heard of him. He's a tight end from UCF over where Gus Malzahn is. They brought in some guys from the transfer portal. Overall, I got to give them props on their recruiting. Again, I'm not going to be on here too long talking about Tennessee. I don't have all that time in the world, but let's call it like it is here. They got the players. I think that for where this program is historically, and we make jokes about how they're a terrible program, which they are, honestly, I think they're in good shape for this season. I'm just going to go ahead and call it that I think they're going to go 8-4 with this schedule. I think their losses are at Pittsburgh, at LSU. I think you lose to Georgia, and I think you lose to Alabama. It's possible 7-5. I don't think they're going to fall off and not make a bowl game. They'll make it back to a bowl game somewhere. But you got to think, where does that fall? Because you got to have at least a minimum of 6 wins, right? Are they a 6-6 team? That is a possibility. But you should win in the non-conference. I'm going to say you play it close and you beat Pitt. You're going to beat Ball State. You could go 3-0 and into that Florida game. And I said it in the Gator preview. I think, and shout out to Uncle Lou, by the way. And I only shout him out because of this. I think, what did he say? Florida, Georgia, or Alabama, one of those teams will resurrect his Tennessee superfan, General Valtard. This is that year. They're going to beat Florida at home. I'm going to go ahead and call that. They darn sure would beat Florida if Florida still had Dan Mullen, which we only wish. But I'm going to say they go into that bye week 4-0. But then it gets a little tough for you. I don't know about going to Tiger Stadium, even if that's an 11 o'clock. And I say 11 o'clock because I'm here in Alabama, and I think it's Central Time over in Baton Rouge anyway. But like a noon game. Even if that's a noon game right there at LSU, Tiger Stadium's tough. You got Brian Kelly. He's going to figure some stuff out for LSU by then, going into October. You could win that game. I'm going to say that's kind of where you take a loss. Like I said, I think they go 3-1 before their bye week. I think they're going to lose that Pitt game, but I'm going to say they beat Florida. I think they get some momentum. They come off a win like that. They have a bye week. Then they go take a loss to LSU. They take a loss to Bama. I think you win in the non-con with teams like UT Martin. Kentucky, I said in Kentucky's preview, I think that it being at home, if it was on the road at Kentucky, that's different. I don't know what to expect for this game, but when in doubt, I normally pick the home team. They got like 3 straight home games there. They lose to Bama. They beat UT Martin. They know that they're probably going to get their butts handed to them in Athens, so they probably get hyped up a little bit, get a win. They go lose to Georgia. I say they beat Missouri. I really don't think Missouri is poised to have a good year this year. I know a lot of people expected them to have something going a couple years ago, or even this past year, people said they might be the second team in the East behind Georgia. Well, oh, good for Missouri. Yeah, good for Missouri. The SEC East is just downfalling. Although this year, with teams like a South Carolina, like a Tennessee, maybe even like Kentucky, it seems like it might get better. The South Carolina game, I think they could beat that. It's gonna be very, very close. That's kind of a coin flip. I never know what to expect from South Carolina and Tennessee. I don't know what it is that I'm possessed to say that Tennessee could actually have a good season. I hope I'm wrong, honestly, because I really don't like Tennessee. I'm an Alabama fan. They low down, they dirty, they some snitches. And them's facts. At Vandy, you should win. But again, I'm calling 8-4 for the Volunteers here in 2021. That's going to do it for my Tennessee preview. I'm sorry to waste y'all's time, but comment down below what you think they're going to do this year in 2022. I got them 8-4. And again, the 4 losses I mentioned are at Pitt, at LSU, Georgia at home, and Bama at home. I don't know what it is, but man, first off, I do like Josh Heupel. I think he's got a good character and good attitude. He might be that coach that they've been looking for. Well, what kind of coach have they been looking for? One that isn't going to screw around. I don't think Heupel's going to do that. Now, he's not taking them to the promised land or anything, but I mean, still. But anyway, I mean, I don't think they're going to fall off and not reach a bowl game. They got to reach a bowl game somehow. It could very much be 7-5. I mean, I could be wrong about that Florida game, if anything, and they drop an extra game, and that's most likely. But I'm just making a bold claim right off the bat that maybe Florida's the team to be the struggle bus that we make fun of this year in the SEC East. But I love you guys. Jesus loves you. Hope everyone has an amazing rest of the week ahead. Keep your head up. Please like, comment, and subscribe right here to Ballard Sports Media for more sports content. And until next time, folks, Ballard Sports Media checking out. Love you guys. Jesus loves you. God bless. And as always,
roll down Tide.
Roll Tide, roll. Love you guys. Ballard's out.